This is the Silverback In-Ground Basketball Hoops. Just looking at it, you can see it definitely has that classic, professional style. The backboard is made from real tempered glass, not cheap plastic, and the rim is the flex type, similar to what you'll find in a proper gym or recreation center. The pole is powder-coated steel and has that solid, sturdy appearance that makes you feel like you're actually getting something built to last. So let me walk you through my experience, because I know buying a hoop like this isn't just grabbing a random item off the shelf. I spent way too long researching, wading through all kinds of home hoops, the ones you fill with water, the ones you roll into place, and the ones that seem like they'll tip over if there's a strong breeze. I wanted something for real games, not just casual shooting. My big concern at first was installation, because with an in-ground setup, you aren't just popping it up and moving it around. You have to commit, dig a hole, pour concrete, and make sure everything is level. For me, that was definitely the most nerve-wracking part. If you get it wrong, you're stuck with a crooked hoop. From my experience, the installation was easier than I expected, though it did take some work. The instructions were straightforward, nothing complicated if you have some basic tools and follow the guide step by step. We dug the hole, prepped everything, and used the included anchor system. This is basically a plate that sits in the concrete and the main pole bolts onto it, so if needed, you can actually unbolt it and move the entire hoop somewhere else. That was a huge selling point for me. If we ever move, I don't have to leave this behind. I can unbolt it and take it to the next house. Key features that really stand out, at least to me, start with the adjustable height. You don't need to be some kind of engineer to raise or lower this hoop. There's a crank on the back, and it just rotates to move the hoop anywhere from 7.5 feet all the way up to the regulation 10 feet, which is what you see in most pro or college games. When my kids were younger, they could lower it themselves and take shots, which just made things so much more fun for everyone. Honestly, it's perfect for families, but it also works for anyone serious about basketball. I remember before buying, I was a little worried about how stable this thing would be, especially given that the pole comes in 2 pieces. There's always the talk about whether a 1-piece pole is better, if the 2-piece ones shake too much or can't handle rough play. After actually using the Silverback hoop for quite a while now, I can say it's surprisingly stable. Sure, if you really slam the ball against the backboard, there's some movement, but nothing that actually interferes with playing. Most of the time, when the ball hits, the bounce is solid and feels almost like an indoor gym hoop. The tempered glass backboard makes a real difference compared to acrylic or plastic. It has a clean, crisp rebound when shooting bank shots or just throwing the ball hard against it. I play often with friends, and nobody has ever had any issues with excessive shaking or instability, even though we've played some pretty aggressive pickup games. Another thing I like is the safety padding that comes with it. The pole and backboard both have thick pads, and they're attached pretty securely. I've got young kids, and sometimes neighbors' kids join in. With the padding in place, I don't get as nervous about someone running into the pole or catching an elbow while going up for a layup. That's just one of those details you don't really appreciate until you see a close call. Living in an area that gets all kinds of weather, strong winds, big storms, wild temperature swings, I was a little concerned about wear and tear and whether rust would eventually become a problem. But after more than a year, mine still looks almost brand new. The powder coating on the steel really does seem to keep rust away. We even had a huge storm last winter, and the hoop didn't budge, not even a little. So I have to admit, I'm pretty impressed with how well it's holding up. As for looks, this thing just looks great, from the glass backboard to the clean, simple pole. It doesn't stick out as an eyesore, and in fact, most people who come over comment on how it has that gym or pro look. If you've got a driveway or backyard that you care about, it definitely won't ruin the view, if you know what I mean. If you're new to basketball hoops, there are also a couple things to know. A tempered glass backboard means it's real glass that's toughened through a heating and cooling process. So if it ever does break, it shatters into small chunks rather than sharp pieces. The breakaway rim flexes when someone dunks, which helps prevent the rim from snapping off or bending. And the anchor mounting system means the hoop is attached directly to concrete with a heavy-duty bolt plate, instead of just being buried directly in the ground. That's what helps keep it stable, and also what lets you move it if you ever change houses. I know there are more expensive hoops out there, the kind you see at schools or high-end sports centers. And I also know you can find cheaper ones for less than $500. But after owning the Silverback, I'd recommend this for pretty much anyone who wants that in-between option. It's not cheap, and installation does take some time, but it's way more solid and feels much more like a real court than any of the basic backyard hoops. For the price, I don't think you can find a better mix of quality, performance, and durability. For maintenance, there's barely anything to do. I check the bolts every few months to make sure nothing has loosened, but I've never had any problems. The backboard does get a bit dusty, but a quick wipe with glass cleaner, and it's good as new. I think the simplicity is probably one of the best parts, honestly. Set it up once, and it holds up, no drama. If I had to bring up a small con, it would be the two-piece pole. It's really solid, but if you compare it right up against a one-piece system, you might notice a tiny bit more movement at the top. For actual play or practice, this isn't a deal breaker for me, and my guess is that most families or home players won't even notice, especially if you're used to portable hoops. In conclusion, I'd recommend the Silverback In-Ground Basketball Hoops for anyone looking to upgrade their driveway or backyard setup. From my experience, it's reliable, looks sharp, feels almost exactly like playing in a gym, and is tough enough to handle lousy weather and years of play. If you're willing to spend a little more than the bargain brands, you'll definitely see where the extra money goes. It keeps my whole family active, and every time I shoot hoops out there, I'm glad I took the leap and made the investment. To learn more about the Silverback In-Ground Basketball Hoops, please check the comments section. Thank you for watching.